Hey guys, Dom here, hope you're all doing well, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Moons of Elsweyr legendary cards. I know I should have done this a while ago, but because we hit a like goal on the Jaws of Oblivion legendary card review, I thought I would actually do this one because I missed it due to a busy schedule. And yeah, like last time, we're going to stick to this kind of order to follow through each of the cards. So if you want to see, say, I don't know, Endurance, you can just skip to that bit. And I'm going to also show off a few decks which go with a couple of cards which I think are top tier in this set. Some of the decks are mine, some of them are other decks. But yeah, let's have a look at strength. So the three legendaries added in with this set, which go in strength, are Rimmen Siege Weapons, Flamespear Dragon, and Mulamnir. Or however you meant to not butcher that name. So, starting off with Rimmen Siege Weapons, this is a support which is ongoing, and at the start of your turn deals 1 damage to your opponent for every friendly creature on your side of the field. It's nice for aggro decks, and if you draw it quite early, especially in a swarm aggro deck, it is something that really can threaten your opponent. And when put in like a Crusader deck with cards like whatever Galmar Stonefist was called, I can't remember his card name, that's really good with this because that allows you to draw a card if you destroy a rune very quickly. And the other two cards, Flamespear Dragon and Mulamnir, these are both dragons. Flamespear is a 4-cost 4/5, which is when your opponent summons a creature, Flamespear Dragon aims at it. At the start of your turn, Flamespear Dragon deals 1 damage to the creature it's aiming at. It's a mediocre card at best, but I think, you know, it's alright, I suppose, with the correct synergy in a certain deck, which I'll lead on to after this second point with Mulamnir, which is a summon and slay Basilisk creature with less power than Mulamnir's health. This card's really good just for clearing out your opponent's field, especially if you can buff its health bar up, and that means as its strength it also works with rally decks, but also in Battle Mage Dragon decks. And this one by Krillus I think is excellent. I'm the only person to have liked it so far, but it was only updated 11 hours before I made this video, so I'll leave its link in the description. Have a look through the deck, show it some love. As you can tell, the creator really has a passion for his dragon deck here. But overall, I think Rimmen Siege Weapons is alright in an aggro deck, but otherwise isn't the best. Flamespear also needs to be in a very specifically made deck, while Mulamnir can probably be flexible, and I'd say he's the best of the strength legendaries in this set. Moving on to agility, we have a bunch of Khajiits, starting with Rebellion General, who is a 4/4/4, has Wax, +1 attack, and trigger the Wax abilities of all your Wax and Wayne cards, except this one. And Wayne is +1 to health, and activate all the Wayne abilities of your Wax and Wayne creatures, except this one. So this is very good in a specific deck, especially when you have Moondoor. Moondoor? You know the card I mean, I hope, where you can use both abilities, but it does also suffer from that same problem that Rimmen Siege Support and Flamespear Dragon suffered from in Strength, which is they need to be in a very specific deck, while Devious Bandit is kind of similar, where it has summon, deal 3 damage to your opponent and gain 3 health, so like Ransack and the 3-cost version of it that I can't remember the name of. But it also has all the Pilfer abilities of all your creatures, which in a Pilfer deck's very good, and is a real threat to your opponent, but then again it has to be made into a specific deck. And finally, Razmdar is a 7-cost 4/3 with charge, who draws a copy of the first card your opponent draws each turn. Now, this is the one I'd say is the most viable in a kind of diverse range of decks, just because it doesn't require specific cards on your side of the field, and it can be activated on your turn when they, say, have a rune break, and obviously at the start of their turn, so it's excellent for draw power. And I'll just quickly show up my Khajiit Pilfer deck, which Devious Bandit isn't in, but could fit into if you just flicked a few cards around, had a play about with it. But this deck did pretty well when it first released, people were impressed by it, and yeah, if you can give this deck a go, I'd heavily advise it. But once again, same as Strength, the unique legendary is the most viable for a diverse set of decks. In Endurance we have Dromafra Reaper, Reanimate and Zumag Foom. Starting with Dromafra Reaper, it's a 2-cost 3/2, which when summoned consumes a creature, and whenever a creature leaves your discard pile, this card gains 1 health, and so do you. So it's going to usually be a 3/3 and give you 1 health, which isn't too bad, but cards like Dremora Channeler and Priest of the Moons kind of do a better job at just that raw effect. But obviously this can give you more health, and this card more health, every time a consume happens. However, I don't really believe consume's the best of mechanics, to be honest, in my opinion. I know there are some good decks out there with it, but none of them are really my cup of tea. So I'd say, unless you're going to make a very, very specific consume deck, this card's not really worth it. Next we have Reanimate, which summons a creature from your discard pile, and is the reason why Falkreath Defiler got nerfed. So yeah, it is quite good. You can instantly summon back a card which costs more or less than 9, which does mean it can be more efficient or just really versatile for the situation you're in. So Reanimate's always a nice card, especially in decks where you really want to focus on one card, and there's a lot of vulnerability for that one card. Finally, we have Zumog Foom, who when summoned, you choose another creature, and when it dies, you can summon it as a 1/1. This is quite nice because it basically works a bit like Abnathan, in you choose something, and then you can kind of use its summon ability or use its abilities for your advantage. But I'd say he's a decent card, but I'm still not a fan of it because it requires very specific good cards on the field. In the archetype, I believe, got the best legendaries in the set. We have Queen's Captain, Cygnus Standard Bearer, and Carl Grontide. Chad, that could be his new name. So, starting with Queen's Captain, she is an 8-cost 4/4 with Wax, draw 2 cards, Wane, destroy a creature. In my opinion, Queen's Captain is one of the best non-unique legendaries in the set, just because although the issue of Wax and Wane is it might just have the wrong ability for the turn you're on, drawing 2 cards is really good, and just a bit of removal is also nice, especially when on a 4/4 body. So it has versatility, especially in decks where you have Moongate, so you can use both abilities. This card is just ridiculously good and is a must-have. Cygnus Standard Bearer, when summoned, summons a 2/2 Imperial Soldier for each friendly support, and whenever you summon a support, it summons another soldier. This is nice in decks which burn through support cards, like that one that was made, and when it's filled, it summons East March Crusaders in both your lanes. It has its kind of place in the game for Swarm, and is a card which is, yes, very good, but is also very situational, depending on the deck it's in, and does require you to draw a few good cards for it to have any use. Finally, we have Carl Chad, and he's a 12-cost 8/9 guard who summons Hall of Colossus, which allows you to summon a non-unique dragon of your choice from your deck. And here on screen is my deck list that I made, which, although it was quite interesting and cool, it was kind of reviewed by members of the community as a bit slow. So I'd say if you do want to give this deck a try, probably have a bit of a tinker around, see what you can do with it, maybe make it a bit better. But it is one of those decks which tries to stall till late game and then go completely ham on your opponent, which I really like personally. So in conclusion, Queen's Captain is a must-have for Wax and Wane decks, and it's still quite nice in other decks. Standard Bearer is alright, and Carl McChad is a literal legendary dragon. So in Intelligence we have Alfic Conjurer, Glacial Dragon, and Vastiri. So Alfic Conjurer is a cat 3/3 guard, which summons to consume a creature to summon a Flame Atronach. If you instead consume an Atronach, it summons a Storm Atronach. Again, this is one of those cards which not only fits in well with Consume, but can also be used in other decks. As, let's just say you've got a random intelligence deck and you got one of these. You summon this card, you get a 3/3 guard, you just remove any creature from your graveyard, and you get a 5/3 breakthrough as well. Or even better, you might get a 7/5 monster with Ward. So Alfit Conjurer, I think, is actually quite a nice card, and is actually quite versatile, especially for a consume card. Secondly, we have Glacial Dragon, which is a 4/5, 6 cost. Shackle enemy creatures damaged by friendly dragons. Summon, deal 2 damage to a creature. Yeah, this works really well with that Battle Mage deck I showed earlier by Acrylis. If you are interested in cards like this, I highly recommend have a look through that deck. If you think it's too expensive, do what you think would be good to cheapen it down. But it is one of these cards which it's made for Battle Mage dragons, and maybe if you do some sort of triple attribute or funky dragon deck with weird and wacky attributes, you can make it work. But it does need to be in a dragon deck. And finally, we have Vistiri, who summons to fill a lane with 1/1 skeletons, and she gains +1 for each friendly spirit and skeleton, which isn't too bad, but honestly, I'd just say run Bone Colossus over this. To start the other section, we have the dual attribute cards, Chimera and Eurexia Farn. So, Chimera is a 5 cost 5/6 Pilfer, which gives all Khajiit in deck +1/+1. This card does have its own 500 GP deck in the store which you can buy, so you don't really need to grind out your soul gems for it if you want to spend a bit of money, either in-game or with your actual money on her. But she works very well in the deck that I previewed earlier, Khajiit Pilfer, and will be in the description. But she does have to be in a Khajiit deck, which is the issue, and that kind of forcefulness on what to play doesn't make her very good outside of those very specific Pilfer decks. And it doesn't really matter though, because she is a monk card, so if she was single attribute, it would probably be a lot worse in consideration to what you could be playing. And Eurexia Farn, when summoned, steals an enemy creature or support, but when she dies, it returns it. If you can silence her, this is just a cheeky way of stealing cards from your opponent, but if not, I still think she's pretty good. Gives you a turn just to kind of meddle with your opponent's field, and obviously if they've got an annoying guard, it allows you to get around it. So it's pretty good, maybe on par with Mirak, because he just straight up steals something. I don't know, run whichever you'd feel more comfortable with personally. Finally, we have the pure neutral cards. So we have the dual cards, Cadwell the Betrayer and Cadwell the Soul-Shriven, and then we have Ill-Fated Scholar as well. So Cadwell has his 2 forms that you get both when you draw. Soul-Shriven is a 0/1 immune to Shackle, and when a rune is destroyed he gains 1 attack. And Cadwell the Betrayer can attack you to destroy more runes. They have some cool funky synergy, and I suppose in a Prophecy deck you can get this to work. It's not bad, it's not too amazing though. I did have a deck list for this, which I have realised I have liked by myself, oopsie. And this was basically just a Prophecy deck where you'd hit yourself and hit your opponent very quickly to buff up your Cadwell and then just finish them off with them. So it's not too bad, but there are probably other cards that I'd recommend running, just not over it, but instead, because it's really not that great. And finally, Ill-Fated Scholar is a 3 cost 3/2, and when it's consumed, summons a 3/2 spirit. So yeah, this fits into your consume decks, but then again, they weren't really that good. So in my opinion, the neutrals of the set were probably some of the worst legendaries. Not that they're completely useless, it's just that they are very much made to fit into a very specific type of deck. But that's probably going to end the video here, so if you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, comment if you want to see this for Houses of Morrowind or Heroes of Skyrim. I don't know if I will consider doing legendaries that far back, but I am considering making a speculation video for the next expansion coming in winter. But other than that, hopefully you should enjoy the deck videos I do in the next coming weeks, and I'll speak to you next time.